The world was broken, fractured by the magic.
Hi guys, and welcome back to SwitchUp. Spellbreak released a couple of days ago on the eShop and is yet another Battle Royale game, but it hopes to differentiate itself with a few new systems and an emphasis on magical use and superpowers, essentially. It's entirely free to play. Now this series usually focuses on would I refund the game, but that doesn't really apply, does it? Because it's completely free. But actually with backlogs the size of ours, I think it's important that maybe we give you our opinion on the title. But is it actually worth your time? Let's find out.
But I am a bat.
It describes itself as a multiplayer action spellcasting game, where you get to play as a battle mage. There are several different classes: Frostborn, Conduit, Pyromancer, Toxicologist, Stone Shaper or Tempest, and each have their own beginning ability. Essentially, it changes your start weapon. And my favourite class so far has been the Pyromancer. The ability to fire those fireballs, but you can also create fire walls, is a nice touch. One area that's interesting is that you can use abilities in your left or right hand, and actually when you combine them you may have more powerful effects. As you'd expect with a Battle Royale, you can customise your character, but essentially you're going to be paying money if you want to do any real customisation in terms of cosmetics. Before a round you enter a hub area, where all the characters will be jumping all over the place, shooting each other, and predictably the choices of game mode include a squad-based, duos, and my favourite, the solo games. The latter two of these unlock after you've progressed a little bit in the game. Now there is a tutorial which is helpful and it briefly explains the base systems, but it's not entirely necessary. It's not the most difficult game to pick up and play. In terms of the controls, you control your character with the left stick, you can crouch toggle by clicking the right stick in, and there are options to change the axis of both the X and Y coordinates. But disappointingly, there are no gyroscopic controls, so a pro controller is almost mandatory at this stage. Your character can levitate for a short amount of time. You can choose your start location. Rather than flying in on a dropship, your team can actually select a point and drop directly to it. As you open chests of different gradings, you'll get different items to pick up and collect. Some of them act as armor and will range up to legendary status, while the weapons are gauntlets. These have different magical abilities, and once again range from common to purple legendary. They each have 2 fire modes, which are accessible with the triggers both on the left and right sides. So far, so generic. But actually, what I will say for the game is that unlike many Battle Royale titles, you don't start out feeling like an absolute weakling. On the contrary, it feels a little bit more like a superhero title, as all of your team will be flying all over the place, and with a quick click of the stick, you can lay down a waypoint, which is really useful. And actually, I enjoyed the team games immensely using this, as not only does it show the waypoint, it emits a small sound and is a very good and quick way of getting your team into the right places. Aside from your base health, there are also armor pickups as and when you need them. They take a short while to apply, so do leave you slightly vulnerable. Each of the different gauntlets has a very distinctive feeling and playstyle. One might be really fast and low damage, while another medium, and as you can guess, there are more powerful ones, but they require a little more skill to use. One cool aspect of the game were these little pickups which go down here and allow you to use a number of special abilities, things like teleporting from one side of the screen to the other, going invisible, or launching yourself right up into the air, which can be really good if you're caught in a pinch. They have a cooldown that isn't very long, and then you can use them again, but they can be an absolute lifesaver in a fight. If you're knocked, or in this game, disrupted, you essentially become a glowing ball. To finish someone off, you'll need to go over, press Y, and exile them. It's a pretty standard system overall, but I've got to admit, I've quite enjoyed my time with it. There was a liberating feeling to not entering each round feeling like you had absolutely no chance of winning if you weren't able to find the right gear. That superpower like levitation and the default weapons that gradually upgrade as your character levels up made it feel like you stood a chance each and every round, which was nice. There's a storm that comes in as you'd expect, and you'll have to reach that final area and defeat all the other players. But by its very nature, and with the abilities your characters have, unlike the absolute trudge fest of something like PUBG, don't get me wrong, I like the game, but it can be a bit slow, each round in this title's much quicker, and reaching the action feels a lot easier. If you've come from any other Battle Royale, you're not going to have any trouble with this one, but a fresh lick of paint and some new ideas meant that I enjoyed my time. Unfortunately, when we look at performance, things aren't quite as rosy. This really needs some work on the Nintendo Switch, and the frame rate, which is uncapped, was all over the place. Sometimes it was a nice silky 30, at others it would shoot up to 40, and then when the action cranked up, it was a bit of a juddery mess, which, as you know, in any third-person action game that relies on precision, it causes quite a few issues. And it essentially means that the Nintendo Switch is the hardest platform to play on at the moment. There's quite a bit of popping at the moment, and the draw distance on the shadow maps is very low. You'll see things appearing and disappearing as you move forward and backwards. There's a slight blur to the whole image, and visually it's just mediocre. Musically speaking though, things are top notch. The score could have been Hans Zimmer, and I was pretty impressed for the most part in terms of the sound effects and audio. However, the foot sounds and the footfall sounds and pretty much anything to do with feet in this game is ludicrously loud and quite difficult to position. Your teammates' feet sound like they're exploding in your eardrums, and it just needs a bit of work. Other sound effects, including magical abilities, are okay, but it was that music that I enjoyed the most. I just sat back and had a little listen. So, overall then, would I say it's worth downloading and spending your time playing this one? Well, if you're looking for another free-to-play Battle Royale title that moves a little bit away from some of the standards, then maybe give this one a try. However, if you're not a fan of these games in general, there's nothing new here that's going to particularly entice you. I am having a good time with it, but I'm also aware that a lot of people just don't really enjoy this style of game, and that's fine. Let me know down in the comments if you've been playing it, and hopefully we can get a squad together and have a little game. A big thanks to our new patrons, we really appreciate it. All your names come up at the end of the video. If you want to join those, then the links will be down in the description. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!
I fight to break free.